Massive, massive breaking news. The biggest breaking news I have ever talked about on this channel. Abigail Spanberger, the Virginia governor, has done it. She has signed bills that will turn law-abiding, normal gun owners into felons overnight. This is not an exaggeration. I'm going to get very heated in this video. It just came out literally 10 minutes ago. This is tyrannical. This is terrible. This is awful. If you are not aware of these laws, you should be. They are abysmal, illegal, unconstitutional, disgusting. It's happened. I actually thought she was going to put them off till the referendum. There was a mechanism constitutionally where she could do that, but no, she decided to rip it. I'm going to go through everything that you need to know. This is despicable, 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 despicable. This will put innocent people in jail. This will put innocent people at risk. It's hard to overstate how terrible, dystopian, disgusting all of this is. I'm gonna get in this video. Before I do that though, if you are new here, please do subscribe. It helps so much more for the algorithm than you guys could possibly know. And we really need all the support we can get. It makes a massive difference, more than you know. So if you are new here, please do consider subscribing. All right, let's get into it. Not going to waste any more time. This was just released by the governor's office, literally like 10 minutes ago as I was reading it. Governor Spanberger's signed bills into law to enhance public safety. Okay, give me a break. Prevent gun violence. Okay, I'm sure. And support law enforcement. Disgusting. I mean, absolutely, absolutely disgusting. So here's what she signed. She signed a bunch of bills to do with law enforcement and a couple others that I'm not as interested in. I'm sure someone is. I'm not aware of these because it's not my area. Obviously, I'm a firearm law guy, about, domestic violence, that kind of thing. Okay. She also signed 4 bills into law specifically targeting gun owners. I'm going to go through these. This is the worst one. In my opinion, I did a tier list ranking the severity of all these. These were the 2 of the most severe laws she could have signed. In my opinion, this is worse than the assault weapons ban. The assault weapons ban, you are grandfathered in. Here, you are not. No grandfather clause. I will get into that in just a second. And this one is going to have a chilling, just absolutely disgusting effect on Second Amendment stuff and guns in the state of Virginia. And these 2 combined together, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, are going to be a disaster. I mean, absolutely terrible. I'm not overstating it at all. But yeah, I'll get into it right now. All right, so this is my website, stopspanberger.com, and you can see I just added this little sign thing so you can see which ones have been signed. I'm going to start here. And I'm going to build this picture up for you. This is worse than everybody is reporting. This is not like some minor deal. This will turn law-abiding, normal gun owners just carrying their pistol to protect themselves and their families into felons. It is disgusting, and I cannot believe we are living in a world where the state of Virginia has come to this. I know I'm going to get heated, and people are going to tell me, calm down, you drank too much coffee. I simply do not understand how we live in a world where the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, has come to this, where even veterans like Delegate Dan Helmer are proposing laws that obviously and clearly infringe on your Second Amendment rights. They are trying to put normal, law-abiding gun owners in prison and disarm them for life by these. No grandfather clause, just absolutely disgusting stuff. All right, what do we got here? So these are the 4. These are the first 4 she just signed. Ghost gun ban and unserialized firearm ban, right? Ghost gun, what a scary term. Let's get into the detail because it's a lot worse than you'd initially think. Okay, this is HB 40. This law is egregious. It explicitly targets essentially people that have made their own firearms who have unserialized firearms like lower kits and stuff like that. This represents an enormous number of gun owners, and there is no grandfather clause. This law would put Thomas Jefferson in jail. This law would put George Washington in jail. As I wrote here, Americans have been building their own firearms since before this country existed. It's how the revolution was fought. Now, we're going to talk about why they are targeting this so hard. It is not a pretty picture. The rest of the laws are coming. This is just what she signed so far. Absolutely disgusting. Again, no grandfather clause. Unlike many gun laws, this bill does not exempt the firearms you already own. If you have one of these guns, when this law comes into date, and it's kind of interesting the way it works in just a second, it's a class 4 felony. So the first offense, like having one, is a class 1 misdemeanor. Your second offense, if you have 2, it jumps to a class 4 felony, minimum sentence, 2 years in prison. So you commit violent crime, they release you the same day on bail. You have a gun, haven't even fired it, haven't even hurt anybody with it, and they're going to put you in prison for 2 years, 2 to 10 years. If the judge is being lenient, they're going to put you in jail for 2 years. A normal, reasonable, law-abiding gun owner in jail for 2 years. Absolutely disgusting, 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 disgusting stuff. Okay, there's 2 parts to this law. Again, I'm going fast because I want to get this out as quickly as possible. All right, so part 1 is plastic and non-detectable firearms. So Virginia already does have a plastic firearms ban, but this bill broadens it insanely to kind of a weird degree. So any plastic firearm containing less than 3.7 ounces of electromagnetically detectable material in the barrel, side, cylinder, frame, or receiver that doesn't generate an accurate X-ray image. I don't know, maybe mine does that, maybe mine doesn't, I don't know. And any non-detectable firearm that, after removal of all parts other than a major component, is not detectable by screening at airports, government buildings, schools, and correctional facilities. This is not even the worst part. This part 2 is way worse, but this part is crazy. And it's an immediate class 5 felony. No first offense, no misdemeanor. No, class 5 felony immediately. You go to jail for a year in prison minimum immediately, up to 10 if the judge is feeling fruity. And if you're near Arlington, they're going to be. Here's the problem with this. I'll get to this part in a second because this part is unbelievable. But here's the point with this. How do I know my firearm is a non-detectable firearm? Like, I'm going to remove all the parts and then I'm going to go to an airport and check? I don't have that screening material. It is not possible to verify compliance with this law. That alone should make it an unacceptable piece of legislation. But this, unbelievable. Let's say you buy one of these guns. I mean, normal person, I go and buy one of these guns, right? And I have it. And then I just leave it in my gun safe, right? When this law comes into effect, and we'll talk about that in a second, when this law comes into effect, I am now a felon. Not a misdemeanor, not a little fine, not a slap on the wrist. I am now a felon. Disgusting. So it's crazy. So if you had 3D printed a firearm, let's say, or someone gave you a 3D printed firearm and you just held it, you were a law-abiding, reasonable gun owner that didn't hurt anyone, and she is trying to put you in jail and disarm you for life. You will never be able to carry ever again anywhere in the United States. Just despicable. And we'll talk about the broader context in a second, but there is a reason they are going so hard after this type of gun, and it is not a pretty picture. It's a mandatory buyback law. We'll talk about in a second, and that's really the broad sort of scope of this. All right, part 2, ghost gun ban. So this is an entirely new section of law. This was not previously around in Virginia, and this is completely not in line with the text, history, and tradition of the Second Amendment. Throughout almost all of American history, before there were things like big gun manufacturers, you went to your local neighborhood gun manufacturer, they made it. They made you your firearm, you bought the firearm, all good to go, right? That's how the Founding Fathers did it. That's how most Americans throughout most of American history did it. Now that is a crime. So again, I know I'm going really fast. I'm just trying to get through this all. Okay, so this is an entirely new section of law, the core ghost gun ban. It creates 4 distinct criminal prohibitions that together make it nearly impossible to own, sell, buy, build, or transfer any firearm without a serial number. And also, if there's pretty much no way to get it in compliance, so they're going to end up taking it away from you, or you're going to have to give it away. All right. So basically, the 4 prohibitions are this: you can't sell or transfer, possess, manufacture, or sell or transfer a firearm you manufactured without FFL. So this applies to pretty much any 80% lower type thing, any home build CNC 3D printed item. Now I just pull this in here. Bryson DeChambeau is now using an iron made with a 3D printer at the Masters. So you think a criminal can't do this? It's not that hard. Making a 3D printed firearm is not that hard. And essentially this only targets law-abiding people who care about the rules. So here's how it works, okay? There's a staggered effective date. So there's a 2-phase rollout. Basically, phase 1, you can no longer sell, buy, transfer, or manufacture. That's January 1st, 2027. Phase 2, which is July 1st, 2027, the possession ban takes effect. So the 6-month gap is meant to be a compliance window, but it is almost impossible to do it. Okay, here's why. Again, I know I'm going to get the comments about me going fast. I'm just trying to get through this all. Basically, here's how it works. So you can serialize it, which is to take it to an FFL who are going to imprint a serial number on it. That's a big problem for a reason. So you can't self-serialize. It must be done by an FFL. The problem is the serial numbers aren't put on by the FFL. They're typically put on by the manufacturer. And so the FFL doesn't have the machinery to do this. You are just screwed. So if you can't do that, which you probably can't, you can remove it from Virginia, which is basically just giving it away. You can surrender it to law enforcement. You can give it to the government and they will destroy it. Or you yourself can destroy it or render it inoperable. So basically, if you have one of these guns, you're just screwed. I'm sorry, you're just screwed. You can either keep it and become a felon, or you can give it away to the government and let them destroy it for you. Just terrible stuff. And again, serious penalties, like class 4 felony, 2 to 10 years, up to $100,000 fine. They are trying to end your life as you know it. There is no other way to interpret this. And I already know people are going to say, I'm making a big deal out of nothing. I am not making a big deal out of nothing. Abigail Spanberger is directly targeting nonviolent, law-abiding, compliant, normal law-abiding Americans. And she is trying to turn them into criminals and ruin their life. And that's just law number one. Law number two, right? So you want to take it to your FFL, right? Here's the problem. Your FFL might not exist. And this one is so illegal that I don't understand how you even come up with this. So like I said here, this is the gun grabber's most insidious weapon. This is the one that gets no press coverage, but long-term might be one of the more damaging. So if you can't ban the guns, they're going to try and bankrupt the people who make them. And here's the craziest part about this. The law, it targets anyone who's engaged in the sale, manufacture, distribution, importation, or marketing of a firearm-related product. So if I market a holster as an example, this law can apply to me. So who does this law apply to essentially? Essentially, the way this works is they implement what's called the reasonable controls mandate. So you must reasonably stop these things from happening. Prevent sale to straw purchasers, traffickers, prohibited persons, already illegal, or anyone at substantial risk of self-harm or unlawfully harming another. How do I know? How do I know on my YouTube channel that I haven't, let's say I make a video, advertising, a holster or something. That's a firearm related product and I've marketed it. How do I know that someone who is, not a prohibited person or at substantial risk of self-harm won't come across that video, right? Now it affects me. Absolutely ridiculous. It's not my job to stop a criminal being a criminal. You must prevent You must prevent loss or theft of firearm products from the business. Again, someone breaks in, steals your guns. It's you who's in trouble for it. Insane. Ensure full compliance with all state and federal law. That's fine. Prevent auto steer installation. Already illegal on all products. Obviously, again, do I want it to be illegal? No. Is it already federally illegal? Yes. An auto steer is a Glock switch, by the way. And of course, no Virginia Consumer Protection Act violations, again, already applies. So here's the crazy part. Who can sue? The Attorney General can sue. Local prosecutors can sue. Any county, city, or town attorney can bring a civil action whenever it appears a violation occurred. Very, very broadly defined. Or any private citizen. Any private citizen. What this essentially does, and what the point of this is to sue FFLs and anyone related to the firearm community out of business, essentially, right? You're going to have, you could easily send someone in there that is at substantial risk of self-harm, have them, get marketed to by an FFL, and now the FFL is on the hook. There's no safe harbor. There's no compliance certification. You don't know you're compliant until you're sued. And then it's going to cost you millions of dollars. And mom and pop gun shops, which most gun shops are mom and pop gun shops, they can't take the cost. It's too expensive. They will have to effectively get out of Virginia. And then where are we going to serialize our ghost guns? Doesn't make any sense, right? Where are we going to serialize our ghost guns? This is particularly insidious when you consider the mandatory, where is it here? The mandatory buyback law. So essentially what this does is it forces, this has not been signed yet, but it will. Essentially, this forces, HB 702, forces every single law enforcement agency in the state of Virginia, every county police, city police, town police, and sheriff's offices, all of them must do this, build, staff, and operate a permanent firearm surrender pipeline. So here's what they're doing, right? If you're not picking it up, here's what they're doing. They're making sure the government knows where all guns are, right? Which is the permit to purchase. They're also creating a registry. So they're making sure they know where every firearm is. Then they're stopping you, so you can't have ghost guns where the government doesn't know where they are. Then they're stopping you from serializing your ghost guns. And then they're setting up the pipeline to take them away from you by force. Now that law is mandatory for the police officers, but not mandatory for you yet. They're obviously targeting that. That is a long-term vision. The other two laws, which I'll talk about briefly, this is an expansion essentially of the red flag law, the red flag law process, which is of course a violation of due process. This one is egregious from a constitutional perspective. It's not actually, in my opinion, going to affect that many people. It has to do with the way that you transfer your guns out once you've been served with the protective order, right? Again, no due process. You haven't faced a jury. You haven't been convicted of anything. But unfortunately, this just expands the way that they can disarm you. Just, again, really, really terrible. Really, really bad, but not really within the scope of, it's not the same level as this, right? And the last one is they closed what's called the boyfriend loophole. Essentially, this lets anyone who was, quote unquote, an intimate partner, anyone you vaguely know, basically by the definition. So it's romantic dating or sexual relationship. It doesn't mean you had to have had sex with the person. It's just if you were in any romantic relationship, it lets them trigger the loss of your firearms under their domestic assault prohibition. So it widely expands that. And cohabitant, which is just like your roommate, right? So if you punch your roommate, sorry, your guns are gone for life. But the real ones to focus on are this, right? Let's talk about this for a second. This law, what is the point of doing something like this? What is the point of attempting to make someone who has not been adjudicated or even accused of being violent or dangerous to themselves or others, or in any way not compliant with other laws? What is the point of attempting to ruin their life? There's a very simple answer to this, and it's not the answer you want to hear, but it is the true answer. Abigail Spanberger, if you are a gun owner, hates you. She hates you. She hates that the government does not have control over you, and she is doing everything in her power as quickly as possible to put the state back in charge. In her view, you are a serf. You are beneath the state. There's the state, and you are beneath it. And that is not fundamentally un-American. The reality of all these laws is these are all deeply unconstitutional laws, right? You know it. I know it. Abigail Spanberger doesn't care. A lot of people have asked, why do I not sign petitions, right? It doesn't matter here. There's only one group, honestly, that can help us, and that's the United States Supreme Court. And so this is going to work its way to the Supreme Court. In my view, they're probably going to rule the right answer, but in the short term, there is no way to sugarcoat this. This is terrible for law-abiding gun owners in the state of Virginia. This is going to put innocent people through no fault of their own in prison, and unfortunately, that is just the world we live in now. You have two choices right here. You can surrender your guns, or you can go to jail. The reality is, for almost everybody, surrendering your guns is the more attractive option. And it's going to affect a ton of people. There's almost no way to quantify this. People are going to go to jail over this. It is just terrible. But that is the world we live in. Anyway, guys, I hope you did enjoy the video. Sorry to get so heated. I get very, very heated over HB 40 in particular because it's so unjustifiable, right? I did something legally, and then I'm getting heated again. I did something legally, and then now you're going to put me in jail for it after the fact? I bought a gun legally. Now you're going to put me in jail over it? You don't even have to tell me? I don't even have to know? But that's just the way it works, right? If you elect someone like Abigail Spanberger, that's what you get. Anyway, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you did enjoy. Sorry to go so quickly and get so carried away. Terrible news out of the state of Virginia. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.